Hi, welcome to another tutorial on the Information Technology SBA on a Mission High School. In this tutorial, we're going to be focusing on creating our report, which is the final aspect of our database. Now, let's look at what we're being asked to do for our report. We're being asked to prepare a report which will list the names of all students who have made part payment. The report must show the students' names, ID, address, grade level, amount paid, and balance owing. The report should be sorted by last name and grouped by grade level. For each grouping level, the report must indicate the total paid and balance. A grand total of the total amount paid and balance should be indicated at the end of the report. The report title should be placed on 2 lines with the following inserted. And this is what we're being asked to insert. Now, let's go back to our database so we can create our report. Now, the first thing we want to do is to ensure that our relationships are tidied up. We need to ensure this because we do not want to have data being duplicated. So, and remember, we had made copies of each of our school fee table and our student data table. We need to ensure that there is a relationship among all these tables. So let's go to database tools. Select relationships. Now you'll notice in our relationships that we have 3 tables only. Now here we're actually working with 5 tables. So I want to add these 2 tables so that I can create a relationship. So I'm going to go to show table here and I'm going to select copy of school fee data table and I'm going to add copy of student data and I'm going to add and I'm going to close. Now I'm going to choose to use student ID, which is the best field to use to create our relationship. So I can choose from any one of these. So I'm going to create the relationship here. So I have my relationships. Good. Now let's save and close. In order to do our reports, we need to create a query to do our reports. We need to create a query that will store all of this data that is required for our reports. And that is so because our database does not allow us to select from multiple objects or from multiple tables to create our reports. So the first thing we want to do is to create a query that lists the fields and data that we want in our report. So let's go. Create, query design, and we want to select the tables that were updated in doing our report. Remember, we had to update our school fee table in terms of the amount of interest that we were given to students who paid in full. So the best table to use here is a copy of our school fee data. And I'm going to use copy of student data, and I'm going to use my parents data table, and I want other data, and this other data that I want is reflecting the balance code, and the balance code is found only in this query called balance query. So we're going to click on query here and we're going to insert the balance query and we close. Now because we had created relationships among our copy tables, relationships are automatically created with our query and our tables. Now let's get the data we want. So we want student ID and we can take it from any table. So I'm gonna work with any table. I have this too many times. I'm gonna delete this. We want the students' names, so we want the students' first, last name. You can have last name first, whichever one you prefer. We need to have address, and the address represents the parent's address. Street, town, parish. We also want the grade level, and we find the grade level in our student data table, or right in our student data table only. And we want the amount paid. Now the amount paid is the amount of school fee that was actually paid. So I'm going to select it from that. So you could have selected it from your school fee data. I'm just going to work with my balance query. Now I want the balance owing. And the balance owing is in my balance query. Now remember, we have criteria that we must work with, and it says that they want only students who have made part payment. Good, so only those persons who have made part payment. So let's go. So here under, so we want payment plan. Apologies. So we want payment plan. So we put payment plan in, and I want to just shift this here a little because I don't want it to be the last thing. I want balance to be the last thing. So for our criteria, we're going to be using, so we have our payment plans are by payments and rather or try payment. Now bear in mind that you could have placed try payment on this line in the or line, right? So it would not be an issue. Good. Let's see if there are any other requirements, right? So we only want students who made part payment. So we are good. Now let's hit the run key and see what happens. Good. So here I have 24 records. ID, first name, last name, the address, the grade level, the school fee, that's the school fee paid, the payment plan, and the balance owing. Good. So that's what we want. So I'm going to save my query. And I'm going to save my query as report query. So now I have a query that I will need to, that I can use to do my report. Now let's do our report. So we're going to go to create. So it's report wizard. And here it says tables or queries. So we're going to look for the table or query that we find all the data we want in. Now we know that this is a query because we just completed our query for our report. So we're going to look, click this combo here, and we're going to look for report query. Good. Now all of these fields are necessary for our report except for our payment plan. This is the only one that we do not want in our report. Good. So I'm going to go the easiest route. I'm going to bring all of them over and then delete our payment plan. Good. So I'm going to bring them over, and then I'm going to look for payment plan, and I'm going to bring back, take back payment plan. So I did 2 clicks instead of several. Select next. Now it did ask us to group. It says grouped by grade level. So we need to select our grouping. And here it says, do you want to add any grouping levels? Yes, we do. And in order to do that, we double click on the field name that we were asked to group by. In this case, it's grade level. So I'm going to double click on grade level. And now this is what my data table will look like. So the grade level will be at the top, and then all the other data below. So let's select next. It also asks us to sort, and it says sort by last name. Now it didn't say ascending or descending, so we're going to choose to leave ascending. So we're going to be sorting by last name. It also says that for each of the group levels, we must indicate the total paid and the total balance. So in this case, we want to go to summary options. So we click on summary options, and the two fields that can be summarized are showing up in this dialog box. And we want the sum of these two fields, so we're going to select them. So we select the sum of those two fields. Good. And then we can say detail and summary, it's no problem. So we say OK. We go to next. It's okay to have it in stepped or block, whichever one you prefer. Right, so I'm gonna work with block, and I want it on portrait, not landscape, and I'm gonna say next. Now we can choose whichever style you want. Any one of these styles are okay. I like flow, so I'm going to select flow. And what title do you want to give your reports? And we can use this title here for our report. And we want to preview, so we say finish. And let us see what happens when our report comes up. Okay, now you notice some of the data is not showing up, but we're going to be fixing that. That's not an issue. But do you notice that we have lower school as the headings? Right, so okay, so here I recognize that some of my data is not showing. This is because I have so much data and the portrait section is pretty small. So I'm just going to go back and select landscape to make it easier. So I double click on landscape, and now I have a better view of my data. So here I have my grade level, and it's sorted on grade level. Last name, student ID, first name, street, town, parish, school fee, and balance. And I'm going to be fixing up this a little. The first thing we want to do though is to change our heading. Remember, it says that we must have 2 lines. The report must have 2 lines. So let's go back. Now we want to come off the print preview, right? And it now takes us to the design view where we can fix this. So I'm just going to double click. I'm just going to select this and make a copy of this text box here. Now it will come over, no problem. We need some space between here, so we can place this text box here. So I just want to just put my mouse pointer here. When I get this T or this 4-way arrow, click, hold down my mouse and pull it down a little so I make some space. And then I'm going to select one of these boxes, text boxes, by putting my mouse pointer on the line. When I get this 4-way arrow, I'll click, hold down, and then I'll bring it down. Good. So I'm going to fix this up a little. So the next thing that should be here is this. So it should say summary of balances. Now guys, remember, if it is easier for you to type, that's fine. I'm just taking the easy way out. Now let me just get rid of that. So now I have two lines. Now you can center if you want. You can pull and drag and center however you want it. You can, to do that, you can just click here and pull it over to cover, to go right to the end of the field here, and then you can hit the center key and it will be centered. So I'm going to do the same thing here. You click, pull it over to the end of the list and it is centered. I had selected center before I pull, so I made it easier. Good. So here now for my student ID, I want to pull in my boxes a little. Pull in because it gives so much spaces. I want to just pull that in a little. Okay, and so this is pulling up, so I'm just gonna pull this up a little. Now remember guys, this is not very necessary. You're not going to be losing marks if you don't do this. I just like when my data is neat and nice, or when my table rather looks neat and nice. Now I want to see my view, so I'm going to click here to see my report view and to see if it looks any better, and yes it does. So I have my two lines of text and it is centered, and I have my report. Now you notice that this is not showing up because it is giving me a number sign. This means that the column is too small. Now to fix this, the easiest thing to do, you can go back to your design view, or you can click this layout view. You can see layout view and you get it right here, and I'll just click and drag this over some more, and let me see. So you notice once you fix one, then you fix all of them. Good. So I want my grand total, so I'm gonna fix my grand total as well. Okay, so I have my grand total. So let me just make sure that all this data is showing up. So I'm going to go back to my design view. I want to make sure that I have all the data that I should have. Now I have the total for the school fee paid, but you'll notice I don't have the total for the balance. So I'm just going to put this in. So here, so I'm going to insert a field that will give me the total for my balance and the total and the grand total for my balance. So I'm going to insert a text box here to do my total. I'm going to fix this up a little, and I want to say equal sum, and I want to sum, and I'm going to put this in brackets. Remember, in database, any field name you're using must be in box brackets, and I want my balance to have a total So I'm going to put this in box brackets. So I'm going to have my total. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I want the total here as well. And remember, I don't want the school fee. I want the balance. Good. So let me just fix this up a little. So I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to view and see what I need to fix. Right, so I can fix this from my layout view. So I'm gonna just bring this over. I'm gonna shorten it somewhat, and then I'm gonna bring it over, make it nice and neat. So I have both my totals, and I have both my grand totals. So I want to bring this over, and I want to format this to 2 decimal places. Check. So I should have currency good. All right, so this is it. So I have grand total for both columns, and I can make this a little bit smaller, and I can put it over just a little bit. Can do the same here. Put it over just a little bit. Right, so it's even, Stephen. Right, so I have the sum of each level, and I have the grand total for each field, and my report is finished. I'm done with. Good. And I'm just gonna hit the save key to ensure that it is saved. Okay, now that is the end of database for On a Mission High School.